You are definitely going to want to watch to the end of this video. I'm going to break down basically what is going to happen next and what you need to brace for when it comes to the internet. Yesterday, I did a detailed breakdown on facial recognition, and facial recognition is something that is going to wreck American privacy and American freedom moving forward. Now, we're going to talk about the internet and basically how you can do your part to help save the internet from everything that is going on right now in Operation Decentralization. Now, you may have seen that Edward Snowden has done a few interviews lately that are very interesting, very telling. He almost seems tired. He had a little more gray in his beard. It almost seems like he's giving up hope on America ever doing the right thing. I think he's gradually seeing this decline, and so he's kind of breaking down how things work and what's next. And it's kind of unfortunate to see. You know, we live in a world where we have a government that actively wants you, they'll even pay you in some places to rat out your neighbors for anything. But yet, if you call BS on what the government's doing, and when they're literally committing crimes, you're treated as a terrorist. The system is so incredibly backwards. And now the unfortunate thing is the government is slowly but surely, and it's taken them a long time, they're starting to become wise to the internet. They're starting to get to a point where they're going to try to use the internet to their advantage. And they've been attacking cryptocurrency. We've seen that. Don't be surprised in the next couple of years if the government wants to start putting a lot of rules, regulations, and things on the internet, which will basically end freedom on the internet, which is one of the last free places worldwide. It's gotten just unbelievable. Now, a lot of people talk about the cloud. And the thing with the cloud is just a bunch of other people's computers. Okay, the cloud is just a system of wires and servers and networks and Wi-Fi's, et cetera, et cetera. And what a lot of people don't realize is there are breaking points not only to our infrastructure, especially in America, but also the internet can actually be turned off. Now, that's not likely to happen. However, as opposed to turning it off, government at some point can start to massively manipulate the internet. Now, we already have people monitoring all internet traffic, not just the NSA, but as traffic goes through the entire internet, whenever you want to open a file, look at a website, go to a browser, no matter what you use, even Tor, obviously, right, you're going to bounce different relays and end up at different exit nodes, and Tor has had a heck of a time combating these malicious exit nodes, which have not only been set up by governments, but have been set up by hackers and other people doing malicious intent, right? They want to do damage to people like you and me. So what are the options? Well, I've talked in a recent video about decentralization and how we need to utilize blockchain technology for the internet. Now, a lot of privacy advocates say, Cody, what are you talking about? Because blockchain is not necessarily built on privacy. The internet is absolutely not built on privacy, but the one thing with the blockchain is it cannot be taken down unless everything is taken down. And even the government, how dumb they are, don't even want that, at least not yet. We'll see what the future holds. But the current internet can be massively manipulated because it was built on open source ideas, and then it was grown and expanded by closed source corporations that have become trillion-dollar juggernauts, i.e. Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, what's next? Well, decentralization has blown up, obviously with the popularity of NFTs and cryptocurrency pushing the movement, but blockchain technology has the ability to tether things in a way where you really do have freedom of speech, where you really do have open source ideas and information, and you can't just have these tyrannical companies slam it down because we thought, well, we're going to keep it away from the government. People didn't think in a million years that we have to deal with the censorship of Google and Facebook. I mean, the fact that Facebook, I hate Facebook, it's the worst company on earth, but the fact that Facebook, a company that makes 100% of its money off advertising, is actually now censoring people, and there's even been memos that they want to censor an entire political party. I'll leave it to your interpretation of what party that is. That's millions and millions and millions of Americans, and I'm not trying to be mean, but there's one party that on paper makes about 10 times more than another party. There's also one party that has about 10 times as many people on welfare than another party. Now, I'm not going to go in the political weeds, but I think you could figure out that secret code yourself, right? Ironically, they want to censor the party that makes most of the money. Seems really, it seems insane. And so they've been backpedaling on some of this because Facebook ads were actually taking the biggest hit they've ever taken. So were Google's. And so now they want to hate a party, but they still want them to give them their money. It makes no sense. So we're dealing with these companies. The good news is Facebook has failed twice now to get into crypto because they don't understand the market and they don't realize how many people hate them and don't want anything to do with them. The next project Facebook launches will fail. The problem is they're so rich they don't have to launch something. They just keep buying things that are already established. But Facebook already knows. Facebook has launched 4 projects the last 5 years. You know how many have succeeded? 0. How is one of the biggest companies in the world can't launch successful product? Because their brand is worth nothing. Everyone hates them and no one trusts them. This is a good thing. This means people are finally rising up and saying, no, we're done with you. The unfortunate thing is they have like $1 trillion or 800, 900 billion. Like they have endless money to buy anything they want. And that's what's been happening. You notice that Google doesn't put out very many successful products. You notice that even Amazon struggles to put out anything successful. Amazon has failed at like their last 4 out of 6 tech devices. You notice that all these big companies are failing left and right. It's because their brand name's in the mud. But they've already got 80, 90, 95% market share, and so it's hard for a competitor to come out. Well, the one option, basically we have one opportunity. There's one option, one opportunity, one chance, and that is blockchain and decentralization so we can shed some of the big government and big business control and actually have an open source internet. Does this create some privacy concerns? Yes, and I'm going to address them in another video. Are they any worse than what we already have? No, actually, just stock, lock, and barrel, blockchain is better than the traditional internet. Reason being, it's a lot harder to have mass control. Now, is it possible? Yeah, it is. It is. But we've even seen this with things like Bitcoin and Ethereum. We've seen this with piggybacking. We've seen this with being able to spiral things off. Then the blockchain is so new, and companies doing things on the blockchain is so new that it's going to be interesting where it goes. But the problem is the traditional internet, right, has been struggling for a long time because we have 5 or 6 companies that control 90% of the internet, and then we have the government that basically monitors and controls the back end of the internet, i.e. the traffic that can track everything you do. And now we carry around these devices that basically have what's called stay alive mode, where even if you shut it off, it's got a memory chip built in, so as soon as you turn it back on, it pieces together all that data. So if you look at the new iPhone and the new Samsung phones that have just come out, they've got devices built in to the hardware. So even if you turn them off, they have reserve batteries. There's been a bunch of scientists who've ripped these things apart and have talked about how you no longer control a device that you own. You can't turn it off and get anywhere. I mean, people like me in the privacy community talk about turning off all these things. You can turn off tracking, ad tracking, geolocation. You could turn all these things off. You can turn off Wi-Fi. You can turn off Bluetooth. It's still not enough. You still have tons of things built into the hardware that track you. So it's impossible to have a phone nowadays that doesn't track everything you do. And even some of these, open source Linux phones that I've talked about, a lot of other people talk about, I've been putting together some reviews on them. When you're dealing with the phone towers, when you're dealing with Wi-Fi signals, when you're dealing with Bluetooth, I mean, basically you can have a phone and use nothing, right? It's becoming really, really unfortunate. Now, the beta version of the Pine phone that I have, you can plug directly into Ethernet, which is great, but then basically we've gone back to a corded phone. That's what it takes. So it's really interesting the amount of privacy we've allowed big government and big companies to take. Now, what can we do about this? Because this is becoming a big problem. Well, start looking into pivoting things you do into blockchain and start looking at the future of that. There was trying to be a big movement with .onion sites, but unfortunately, quickly, the government demonized everything .onion, everything the deep dark web, right? They try to make it seem like this place that's all illegal activity, which is simply not true. It's just a place they can't stalk you and catalog everything you do as easily. There are things they can do, but not as easily. And so now you look at blockchain, makes it tougher for them. Now, people need to mass adopt some of these new technologies on the blockchain, and I'm going to be creating a list on privacyxproject.com of the ones I recommend so you guys can check them out and see if they fit your needs. But it's services like VPNs, it's services we all use, but services that have a lot more of a cutting edge technological advantage as opposed to standard VPNs. And we've seen the disgrace of like Proton Mail, for example, and Proton VPN. We've seen all these other VPNs that have pivoted into, now they give logs, now they're owned by media companies, now they're basically funneling all their data backdoor into NSA, and these companies aren't worth using anymore, and also a bunch of telecom companies have bought them, so they're basically worthless. So the future is blockchain. It's something that I recommend all of you start looking at, because if we can decentralize everything, they lose control, and then you can build your business on a free and open environment. It's basically going to help save and move the internet further forward, because what we have right now is controlled on both sides. It's become a giant tracking device, and it's very unfortunate. I get people every day, how do you become a ghost? And I'm teaching clients how to become a ghost every day because it's so incredibly hard. And so you can check that out, Privacy X Project. Our prices over there are going to have to go up a lot. Right now, our prices are incredibly cheap for consulting and for our ghost package. We're going to have to raise them a lot because we're getting so many people flooding in, because this is basically do or die at this point. So we've got about another 15 days before we raise prices. So if you want to check it out, go to Privacy X Project right now and check it out before we up the prices, because I mean, this is mind-blowing, guys, and this is where we are. You have to become a ghost. You have to have a ghost business, and you have to start taking yourself off this grid. I mean, we've got gun confiscation laws on the floor right now that over 135 Republicans voted for. Are you kidding? This is to come confiscate your guns. This is happening as we speak. We've got new business acts in there. We've got obviously the flood of IRS agents they want to hire to audit you. We've got this new bank account law where they're going to track everything you do in your bank account. And so me and my team have been circumventing all of this to help people disappear legally, ethically, morally, and basically live a life where you're not stuck in this system, because this system's a nightmare. Appreciate you guys checking this out. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Putting out new videos every single day. We are putting a few new pages on Privacy X in the next couple weeks, so I'll be talking about that. We're going to have a complete blockchain page coming on, because that's been a big request. We're also going to be updating our recommendations for a bunch of services that you guys could potentially check out and see if they fit you, because a lot is changing quickly. I mean, the things in the privacy community, the things in the security community, the things in the crypto community, the things in the technology community, the community that we're part of, are changing at 1,000,000 miles an hour right now. So stay tuned for that. We're back to putting up videos every single day. Appreciate your support. Share these videos if you get a chance. Need to get the privacy community bigger for all of us to be able to grow. Have an amazing day, guys, and I will see you in the next video.